We're on lesson 1 of chapter 9, which we're going to focus on perimeter and circumference. So first we're going to find perimeter of polygons, then we're going to find the circumference of a circle, and then we're going to solve a real-world application. The first word to look at for this chapter is perimeter. The perimeter is the distance around a geometric figure. So for example, if I was your basketball coach and I told you to run a lap around the gym, how far would you need to run? Well, you need to find the perimeter of the gym. You need to find the distance around the basketball court. The simple way of doing that would just be to add up all the sides. So from here to here, you would run 80 feet. From here to here, you would run 45 feet. From here to here, you would run the same distance as this, so 80 feet. And then from here to here, you would run 45 feet, because that's the same distance as that. To solve that, then, you would have to combine these, or add them together. Adding all these together would be a total of 250 feet. So that would be the perimeter of this gym. Here's another way of looking at that as well. You see that we have 80 here and we have 80 here. Well, 80 times 2 is 160. I have 45 and 45 here. Well, 45 times 2 is 90. 160 plus 90 is 250. The formula I just showed you would be perimeter equaling 2 times the length, which was 80 times 2, plus 2 times the width, so 2w, so 45 times 2. That's the formula for solving a perimeter of a quadrilateral. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So let's find the perimeter of these following figures. We have a triangle with the distance of 10, 16, and 9. So the distance around this triangle, we can't use this formula here because there's only 3 sides. So we have distance of 10, 16, and 9. When we combine those together, 10 plus 16 plus 9, that would give us a total of 35. And since it's measured in centimeters, we would say 35 centimeters. This is the one where we can use the formula. We have a length of 32. We have a width of 15. Formula is perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So it'd be 2 times 32 plus 2 times 15. 2 times 32 is 64. 2 times 15 is 30. 64 plus 30 equals 94. So our perimeter equals 94 meters. Now we need to find the circumference of a circle. The reason why this lesson is together because perimeter and circumference mean the same thing but for different figures. Circumference is the perimeter, I guess you could say, around a circle. It's the distance going around the circle. A few words we need to know if we're going to solve this then. The first word is diameter. Diameter is the distance across the circle going through the middle of the circle. So basically it measures the distance from one edge to the other. A radius is half of that. A radius is from the middle to the edge of the circle. So it starts here in the middle and goes to the edge, making it half the diameter like I mentioned before. Circumference, like I mentioned, is the distance around the circle. So the reason I told you all these is because they all go into a formula. The circumference is about 3.14 or pi times bigger than the diameter of a circle, meaning that the circumference is pi times diameter. So 3.14 times whatever the diameter is. Since the radius is half the diameter, I would need to multiply the radius times 2, so 2 times r, and then multiply times pi. So the formula could either be circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. Here it tells us to find the circumference of each circle to the nearest tenth if necessary. It says use 3.14 or 22 over 7 for pi. You can use this instead of 3.14. This is actually a little more precise. So we have a diameter here of 8 inches. So since it was diameter, I can use the pi times diameter formula. So circumference equals pi times 8. Let's use 3.14 this time. 3.14 times 8 equals 25.12. So that would be our circumference. And that's going to be in inches. Since I need to round this in the nearest tenth, that would give me 25.1 inches. Here we have been given the radius, so we can use this formula over here. Remember, we need to multiply that radius times 2 to find that diameter, then we can multiply times pi. So if this was a diameter, this would be 28 centimeters across. We multiply that times 2. So 28 times pi would be our circumference. Let's use 22 over 7 this time. So we have 28 times 22 over 7. I see that the 7 and the 28 would turn into 4 and 1 by simplifying. So 4 times 22 equals 88 over 1. Since we don't need this over 1, we would have a circumference of 88 centimeters. So just to give you that recap here, since I gave you the radius, I doubled it to give me the diameter. Then I multiplied it times pi. Using 22 over 7 times pi, I could simplify that to 4 over 1 times 22 over 1, which gave me 88 centimeters for my circumference. Let's do a real-world application. It says Lily is drawing plans for a circular fountain. The circumference of the fountain is 63 feet. What is its approximate diameter? So the fountain that she has a circumference, the distance around, of 63 feet. Here's where we have to go back to our formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. And what do we know so far? Well, I know that the circumference is 63, so 63 equals pi times diameter, and I know that pi is 3.14, so 3.14 times diameter. If I want to get diameter by itself to solve for diameter, I would need to divide by 3.14. So these would cross off, giving me just d. So I'd have 63 divided by 3.14. That gives me an answer of 20.06369. If I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth. How about? So we'll have 20.06, since the 3 tells me to keep it at 6. And that's in feet. So this would be the diameter of her circle.